Chris Sutton's been talking about the fact that his old mate James Horncastle said on TV that the first half against Atletico Madrid is the best football that's been seen in the Champions League so far this football. Chris Sutton then went on to say that he's not going to disagree with them, but here's the facts. You simply cannot maintain that tempo for 90 minutes. It's just not possible, and that was visible to us all in the second half. Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the thumbs up, as it does help with the algorithm. Right, back to Chris Sutton. Big Chris Sutton says that Celtic ran out of gas. Maida is a phenomenon in terms of running and energy, but he was knackered at the end. His vibrancy disappeared and the home team just didn't get a grip of the game the second half. At that point, you need a change of tact. He says that Brendan Rodgers did that. If you can't play through them anymore because your legs have gone, you have to go back to the bench and boost that energy. But Celtic didn't do that. He said they didn't do that. The quality, losing the quality in our play the second half, you need a different way to relieve the pressure on yourself and get back up the pitch. When you look at it, it says someone can chip a ball for 40 yards up the pitch and he can win you a free kick and hold the ball up, but they didn't have anybody on the pitch that could do that. It says you don't have a big Georgios Guacamakis anymore who could have done that, and O was left out. O might have been the one. But is he? Is he really the one, says Chris Sutton? There's a fact that playing the ball like that, Celtic just don't do it anymore. It's either poor in training or the manager doesn't fancy O as a player. Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments. Is O the type of player that should be getting more time at Celtic? Or is it the fans that O just isn't going to do it at Celtic as far as Brendan Rodgers is concerned? Chris Sutton then went on to say, he said, if you can't pass your way out from the back and you can't pass your way through them, you need another option, because no matter the game, Champions League level, you're going to face a spell where you're under big pressure. Celtic could not get out their own half for much of the second half against Atletico Madrid, and that's what happens when you concede chances like you did at some point. You're going to, it's going to come back and bite you on the bum the way it did with Celtic on Wednesday night. He reckons that the manager doesn't fancy O at all. He says the manager can't buy anyone to play in the last 3 group games either. So O needs to get up to speed and make things happen. A tweak, an adjustment, anything just to make it happen. It's strange, even when Atletico went down to 10 men in the final 10 minutes, I felt they were more likely to score than Celtic, which we all seen that on the pitch. I mean, in the last 10 minutes, they were sort of dominant in the game, and it looked like they were going to score. There was one chance that James Forrest got towards the end of the game, and he skyrocketed. Well, he didn't skyrocket it, but if he had just got a little bit down, he would have got it in the back of the net. Saying about O, Chris Sutton went on to say that Celtic need a Champions League striker alternative. They need someone else that can come on and lead the line. He said O is not Brendan Rodgers' answer. Tell me what you think about that in the comments. Now, a lot of people are going to make comparison to the big grumpy Greek that wanted away from Celtic, remember, because he wanted away from Celtic because he wasn't getting game time, a bit like what O isn't getting at the moment. So I just hope that O doesn't go down the same route and turn out to want away from Celtic and doesn't really get a chance. We really need to be resting Kyogo, and we need to bring in a striker that is of equal quality, if not better than Kyogo. And again, talking about the Champions League game on Wednesday night, he said, look, it was dynamic the last 10 minutes of the game. He says, look, Celtic were really in it. They could have had a chance. They could have won it. And when you look at the bench and you've seen Simone, he was clearly signalling to the team to hold on to what they had. I mean, they were fearful that they were actually going to lose the game towards the end, and they were definitely playing out for the draw. In other Celtic news this morning, Callum McGregor has backed Paulo Bernardo to build on his showing against Atletico Madrid this weekend as he replaces the injured Reo Hatate. The Hoops midfielder was called upon after 10 minutes of the Champions League clash on Wednesday after Hatate went down clutching his hamstring. Brendan Rodgers obviously confirmed that it's a bad one, but we don't know how long he will be out for yet. You think about it, we've got Tomoki Iwata, we've got David Turnbull. Will David Turnbull even be at Celtic next season? That's one of the biggest questions that's going on at Celtic right now. And then you've got Odin Ohm, who hasn't really played since he was sent off. But Callum McGregor, who played along the Benfica loanee for the first time for any length of time in a Celtic shirt, it says, look, after a strong performance, He showed how to boss it in Madrid. He said he bossed it. He's very technical, as you would imagine, coming from abroad. He wants to be on the ball. He wants to make things happen. You could see that from the little glimpses he had against Atletico Madrid, said McGregor with regards to Paulo Bernardo. Callum went on to say about Paulo Bernardo, he says he's not shy and he shows his discipline. He looks after himself and he's come in game ready. He's happy to show his strengths and what he has and what he can give to the squad. We want really good players in each position, says Callum, and he is definitely one of them. So what do you think about Paulo Bernardo? Do you think he will start today? I think he will. I think he'll get a shout before any of the other midfielders in question, and I think he's going to have a fantastic game today. So, talking about O, tell me in the comments when was the last time O scored a goal for Celtic. So tell me in the comments when was the last time O scored a goal for Celtic. I think the one thing that O does have for him just now is that he is under contract until 2028. So he's got a little bit of time on his side. He is still young. But we tend to push young Scottish players out on loan. Should it be the case that O maybe needs to go out on loan to just get himself up to speed? Now back to the game today. Obviously Celtic travelled down to Hibs over at Edinburgh and they get the full stand behind the goals. So they do get a big allocation again, which is good. It's one of the venues where they do get a big allocation behind the goals and it makes for a great atmosphere. So unfortunately the game is not on television today, so you won't even get to see that atmosphere unless you have a Fire Stick and you can watch Celtic TV, which is illegal in the UK, but let's face facts. The TV deal is absolutely disgusting, and the fact that Celtic Hibs away is always a fantastic game. For it not to be on television this weekend is it just makes a mockery of the TV deal. Anyway, the Hibs manager has been talking about his young team with his low budget compared to Celtic. He has been talking about that this year and says that he has a belief in these players, but he did pay respect to Brendan Rodgers being a fantastic manager with lots of experience. It's going to be an interesting game today. I think they will play a bit more defensive than normal, and it'll be interesting to see what the scoreline. A lot of high scorelines predicted last night on the live. I went personally for 4-0. I think it will be a 4-0 game, maybe even 5. I think Celtic have got a point to prove, and whoever plays up front for Celtic today will get plenty of service, that's for sure. Will Matt O'Reilly carry on the form that he's been in of lately? I think he will. I think he's going to have another fantastic game. It's been suggested that Celtic will command over 30 million if there's any offers to be accepted from him. But Celtic are in no rush to sell Matt O'Reilly. They see him as one that they're going to keep for a few years. So it will be interesting to see how well he plays today with Paulo Bernardo up front. The fact that Matt O'Reilly does have a little bit of a connection with Kyogo, I do think that the manager will start the game with Kyogo, just purely for the fact that the passing, the interplay between Kyogo and Matt O'Reilly has been absolutely fantastic. When you look back to the Atletico game, that sliding pass, I mean, it was a ruler pass from Matt O'Reilly right through. He's seen the gap in the defence. He knew that Kyogo would run into that position, and that's why he starts. That's why Kyogo starts before O, if you ask me, because O just doesn't have that with the players. And even when you've seen Kyogo and O on the pitch at the same time, the two of them trying to run into the same space. They're not exactly sure where they should be playing. Now that's maybe something that should be looked at in training if they're going to go to a 3-5-2 at any point. I think Celtic should definitely be playing with a 3-5-2 in the league, especially when teams sit back so far. When they sit back that far on the pitch, there's absolutely no reason for us not to be playing a 3-5-2. I mean, there is the argument you could stick to the 4-3-3 that we play, and the wing backs then move into the midfield, which gives you that 5, which helps you dominate the midfield a bit more. So tell me in the comments what you think the score will be today. Tell me what you think the predicted team will be, and tell me where you're watching the game about, if you're watching it. On that note, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans all around the world.